everybody to my online launch for my new book, Perfectly Imperfect Parenting, Connection, Not Perfection. I am so pleased to be able to launch the book, to get it out into the world. It feels like I've been waiting ages to have this. We shouldn't be here. We should be in a bookshop somewhere. Erin and myself should have been in the hairdressers getting our hair done. I should have a French polish on my nails and not covering my roots. Because of COVID, we can't have a face-to-face. And you guys, if you're sitting in your PJs watching this, you would be done up somewhere with a glass of Prosecco in your hand. So I wish we could do that, but we can't. But it is what it is. So we're going to go for this online video instead. So welcome to you all. This is Erin, my eldest daughter. And we start with a chat to Erin. Then I'm going to have a chat with Ger Walsh, who did the editing for me. And then a little chat with my son Michael and a few little videos from people who, because of COVID, couldn't be here. So welcome to everybody.
So how did you get into psychology?
Funny, Erin, I remember when you were a kid, I was doing my degree in psychology, and if anybody else has done a degree in psychology, I just loved the subject. As soon as I really got into the subject, I loved it, but particularly child development. And I remember when you were little and you were only, oh my gosh, you would have only been maybe 6, 9 months or so. And I was learning in psychology about child development. And there was this theorist called Piaget. Anyone who's early ed will know this man's name very well. And he had this experiment called the Rouge test. And the idea of the Rouge test is you get a little child and you put them in front of a mirror. Some people call it the mirror test. You put them in front of a mirror and you put a little bit of rouge, like a bit of lipstick or whatever, on their nose. And children, maybe over the age of 1, maybe up to 18 months, if they look in the mirror, wondering what's on the nose, the child in the mirror, they don't realise, it's about self-concept, it's their nose. When they get to about 12, maybe 18 months, they know, oh, this is me, why have I got a spot on my nose? So our morning routine, every morning before I went to work, I'd be putting on my makeup and doing my hair, and you would sit at my feet in front of big floor-length, ceiling to floor-length mirrors. And I remember I was studying at the time about child development, and I thought, I'm going to test my daughter here, and putting a bit of something on your nose. Now, you would have been only sitting, you weren't, certainly weren't 1. And you looked in the mirror and you went, to your own nose. And I remember thinking, oh my God, my child is a genius. and she was. But no, I remember, still is, definitely. But I remember thinking, how did she know that? How did she know that she shouldn't be able to do that, because Piaget says she shouldn't be able to do that until she was older? But I remember literally realising you could do it because you were sitting in front of that mirror with me every day and thinking, God, she's doing what he doesn't think she should be able to do. Then there was this woman called Margaret Donaldson. I talk about her in my lectures all the time. So Piaget, he's a genius, and he's over in Switzerland, and he's doing all this work with children. Margaret Donaldson is from Edinburgh, and she goes over to work with him, and she queried his tests. So he did various different experiments with children to assess their cognitive development. Margaret Donaldson realised he's got it wrong. What he's saying might be correct for children in Switzerland. She was working with children in Glasgow, and she realised, like my genius daughter, they could do things that Piaget claimed they couldn't. And I remember that year when you were that age thinking, this is me. I found what I love. I wanted to be Margaret Donaldson. Yeah, absolutely. But I just knew I loved psychology, and no matter what I did, I wanted to get into that area. When you guys were little, I would have liked to be a clinical psychologist, and it just wouldn't have worked with young children for me. I wanted to be at home. So I ended up lecturing and loving it, absolutely loving it.
So when you got into lecturing and realised that you loved lecturing, how did you then move into parenting work?
Oh, and that was years later. and I was lecturing part-time in a few different organisations, and I wanted to be part-time because you were little and Michael was little, and I'm not sure if Kira was there. She would have been, yes, there at the time. And you might not remember this. Oh my gosh, there is the loveliest lady called Orla Nolan, who was the producer of Ireland AM. And Orla had asked me to come in and do a segment on children starting school. My PhD was on the transition school, and Orla had said, oh, come in and do this. And I'd done the segment with her. But she came back to me and she wanted me to continue to do a regular slot. And I was terrified. And I thought, I can't do this. And I was, God, if Orla is watching, I was avoiding her calls. And I had her saved in my phone as Orla Nolan, Ireland AM. And I was in the car with you. And you would have been maybe 17 or so at the time. And I remember I was driving and you were going, why is somebody from Ireland AM phoning you? And we go, oh, nothing, no. Why are they phoning you? She phoned again. And I just remember thinking, oh, I have to do it. And I said, she's phoning me because she wants me to do a segment. And I don't think I want to do it. And I remember you saying to me, do you not remember that? Oh my God. I remember you saying, you have to do it. You have to do this. And thinking, how do I tell my daughter? She has to go out there and be independent and be brave and strong and capable if I'm showing her that I'm a wuss. And that's why I did it. And I was talking to Orla Nolan recently, and she told me I had been doing parenting work with Anton Savage on the radio, and she had been driving along one day and heard me on the radio and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this woman into Ireland AM. But it was literally within weeks of each other. Yeah. And funny, that's probably how I started writing the book, when I was doing parenting with Anton, and Emer Shannon was his producer, and she kept saying to me, you need to write a book. And that was back in 2015. And here I am. I remember being in lectures with my minute students one night and thinking, I can't remember which class it was, which year, and thinking, I'm actually going to tell them. I'm going to tell them tonight I'm writing a book. And going in and say to them, I am going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And they're all like, yay, go on, do it. And you know when you say something, then it's real. Yes. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do it now. I have to write this book. And it takes time. It definitely takes time. I think the first lockdown here with COVID, I had the book more than half written at that point, probably 3/4 written of a first draft. And I think that made me think, you know what, if you don't do it now, you never will. Mm-hmm. And here it is, finally. I have it done. It's ready to go out into the world. And I must say, I'm proud of it. You know, it's taken a while, but
it's real. It's here.
Yeah, it's real.
It looks good.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. Well, thank you, Erin. And that's our little start. We're going to link now in a moment for another chat with Ger Walsh, who did the editing for the book. And we talk a little bit more then about what the book is about with Ger. Welcome back, everybody. This time I am joined by Ger Walsh, and I'm delighted to be able to have her here. Ger edited the book, so it's an opportunity for me to say thank you so much, Ger.
You're welcome.
Because when I had finished the first draft of the book, so first draft, this is probably my 20th draft, when I had it done, and it was the first draft I was willing to share with anybody, I thought, book is done. Oh, no. I learned so much about writing a book from you. So I really, really appreciate your input and your expertise. I'm just so glad that I found you to work with on this book.
Genuinely an honour to have been involved in this process, Mary. Honestly, I think what you've achieved here is absolutely incredible. And I think that I was very lucky to have had, consistently your head, your voice in my head throughout the last year. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and, parenting is tricky.
Yeah.
And you question yourself almost every day with all of the little things that they do, and that you think that you have to react to. And it's so hard, and yet when you know that it's okay to parent at a certain level, things get a little easier. So, you know, every time you send me a chapter and I'd read it and I'm like, oh, grand, don't have to do that anymore. Mary says I don't have to do that. It's great. You know, this idea of perfectly imperfect parenting is what we need. We need to hear this more and more and more every day. We should crawl out of bed and say, okay, today we will be good enough. Yeah. And that's all we need.
Sure, that's exactly it. And I have to tell you, I just absolutely believe in this idea. You know, I was saying to you earlier that I didn't choose this as a title for a book thinking, oh, that will sell a book. I believe it inherently within me. I believe it. I remember when Erin, my eldest, was a baby, and I was living in London. She was born in London, so I didn't have a lot of support. And I was so happy with this new baby, and I wanted to be perfect. You know, I had to be perfect in my mind to do everything I needed to do for this little bundle. I had to be this perfect parent. Yeah. And I remember one night I was in bed, propped up in bed on my pillows. I'd just been feeding her in the middle of the night, and she'd fallen asleep on my chest. And I remember that night, I read 2 books in particular that were, every routine has to be regimented, and you're sleeping and feeding, and I was feeling this pressure.
Yeah.
And she was literally sleeping on my chest. And in that moment, I remember just thinking, oh, Mary, you have to trust your instincts. She needs you. She doesn't need perfection. She needs connection. It was that connection with me she needed. And so even at that point, I remember just having this feeling and thinking, I'm not reading those books anymore. I'm not putting myself under that pressure. If I can really connect with her, if I can figure out how to do that well, that's what I need. Yeah. And I've tried to live by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kids don't come with manuals, do they?
Well, nah, definitely not.
I mean, we'd have how many manuals? Every kid is bloody different.
Yeah.
Every kid is different. And that idea of writing a parenting book, you don't patronize us, you know.
Yeah.
So I read your book as your editor, as a writer, as a parent.
Yeah.
So I understood what you were trying to achieve in helping parents figure all of this stuff out. You are what I would consider one of the biggest advocates for parents and a huge supporter of trying to get through this on a daily basis, you know. And you know, when we come to the idea of connection, not perfection, that idea of connecting with our children is so huge, especially everything we've gone through the last year. Yeah. We are living in each other's pockets, and it's very easy to find faults with each other as a family.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can pick at those little nitty-gritty things. But when we look down deep into our sort of family dynamic, and with your support and teaching us and how to guide us on this path of parenting, we can see that things can be a lot more simple than what we play in our heads. Yeah. I think one of the quotes, I just want to read this one out because this really struck me. Let's remember that good enough parents know they will make mistakes but still strive to do their best. Good enough parents know their children will make mistakes, but that this is part of the learning process.
Yeah. And isn't that so important?
Oh, yeah.
There are so many, you know what I'm like? I was talking to Erin earlier about the psychology and the research and how important that is to me. But the research tells us that so many of our children now are terrified of mistakes. Mistakes are failure. And instead of seeing a mistake as just a learning experience, they genuinely experience this feeling of failure. And that made me look back at myself as well and think, you know, if I'm holding myself to account, if I feel I have to be a perfect parent, somewhere along the line, am I expecting my child to be the perfect child? So if we can release ourselves of that need for perfection, we're also realizing that nobody in our family is perfect. We're all doing our best. And that connection, that absolving ourselves of that need to be this perfect parent is showing them that we're human. that we're human, that they're human, that being human is fine. You know, it's how we learn and it's how we grow. And it doesn't mean we're not empathizing. It doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. You know, it's none of that. But it's accepting that we are human, and that whole idea of being good enough is fine.
Yeah. And we, you know, you talk through in the book as well about how we battle our own inner critic.
Yeah.
How, you know, we're working through the idea of the falsehood of social media and comparison.
Oh yeah, you know, that comparison is the thief of joy. Oh my gosh, and it's so true. But, and it's funny, Ger, you think, well, if I think of, say, my mum's generation or her mum's, like my grandmother's generation, there wasn't the same pressure on them. There absolutely wasn't. They definitely had a more relaxed view of parenting. Now, I know we look back on some of the stuff and we laugh, and I know that. But at the same time, not only do we hold ourselves to account, we kind of hold each other to account a little bit. You know, we can be very critical of ourselves, and we can be very critical of each other. And again, it's just stepping back from that a little bit and thinking, no, this idea, and remember, the idea of good enough is not, but who gives a damn? You know, it's really not. It's about when they're born and we are devoted to them. That absolute devotion, and that's perfect. That's just where we should be. That's absolutely natural. And we develop those secure attachments with our children. I talk about this in the book. That's so important. But in order for them to be independent, we have to lower the bar a little bit, step back, and allow them to be independent. But I think at the moment, this idea of how we judge each other, step back. No, we have everything organized. We have everything, everything in life. We have nearly predicted what they should be doing at any particular time. But if we can say, no, hold on, step back a little bit, allow ourselves a bit of grace, allow them a bit of grace. And it makes for better independence for them as well, long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You say this is not the Olympics. Parenting is not a competitive sport.
Yeah, it's not. You know, be less, my youngest would say about being judgy, and we need to be less judgy of ourselves and of each other. You know, and most parents, we really want the best for our children. We absolutely do. And again, I mean, what I'm hoping in the book is, you know, I'm sort of talking about the psychology because I love the psychology. I'm talking about the research because I love the research. That's my background. But I'm trying to present it in a way that I would do on Ireland AM or whatever. Look, here it is. This is what they're telling us. But what can we learn from it? So I've tried to give kind of practical advice. So it's like, here we go. This is actually really interesting, guys. You know, if we think about what this researcher is saying or this psychologist is saying, now, how are we actually going to put this into place in our lives in a realistic way? And I hope to do that in the book.
Oh, you do. You absolutely do. And I think, you know, when we look at the different chapters that you have in the book, you go through so many different ideas of parenting, obviously, but as our children are growing older.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I have a 7 and 3-year-old. So, as they get older, I'm going to be going back to certain chapters and going, oh yeah, what did Mary say about this? Because Jesus Christ, this is, I can't handle this. I don't know what to be doing. So, you know, you help us. You're so relatable.
Well, that's good.
Thank
you.
I'm not the only one who will say that. I think everybody will probably agree that you are a voice that we can really appreciate, understands what we're going through. You know, you're a parent. You know, your children are older than mine.
Yeah.
So you've been there. You've done that. You know, you've crossed every boundary that the children can throw at us.
And funny, I think the three of them would say, and she's not perfect. She is definitely not perfect.
And that's exactly it.
Isn't that it? And funny, Jerry, sometimes people have said to me, your kids must be just absolutely, and that was kind of linked to the title as well. People say that to me sometimes. Well, if you're doing all this parenting work, your children must be absolutely perfect. No, they're not perfect. They're real. They're real. They're human. Yeah. As I am human, they are human, and that's what we want for them, isn't it?
You say, I'm sorry, I keep pulling these quotes because I found, you know, as I was reading every word that you wrote, I found just going, oh, yes. Yes. Oh, thank you, Mary. You know, literally just finding that I could say, God, it's okay that I'm doing this, that I'm parenting this way or that way, or that I've made a mistake. And I've made mistakes, we all have. But that, these things are not, they become a part of our children, they become a part of us, they become a part of the whole entire learning process.
Yeah.
And with each different child that we have, it's a brand new story.
Yes, isn't it?
It really is.
And these mistakes as well, remember, and this is another thing I'm trying to get across in the book, these are, when we make mistakes, it's kind of a low stakes mistake. These little errors we make with them, teach them that we are human, teach them that everybody makes mistakes, but teach them that we repair. And I think that's one of the things I say, we all make mistakes. The mistake is fine. Okay, you've done it. I do them myself, but my rule has always been come back and repair and apologise. We forget sometimes, don't we, to apologise to our children. Yeah. So I do try to come back and say, I'm just sorry, I got it wrong.
And that's connection.
There we go. You see, it keeps coming back to that connection. It really does. The connection, not perfection, genuinely is my little mantra. It really is. But again, it just comes back to this whole idea of what's really important in that relationship.
I think we forget that the little ones that we're raising to be fully fledged adults, they're independent thinkers, and they have their own skills, their own ideas, their own thoughts, their own beliefs.
Yeah.
And, they're separate from us. We can't hear what's inside their head, and that can make parenting obviously quite difficult. So, we have so many pressures to deal with when we're parenting.
Yeah. And you're right, Cher. It's funny when you talk about them being independent thinkers. If we think about what we really want as parents for our children, we actually want to let them go. We want them to become strong, capable, independent. That's really what we want. Now, I hate the idea of them leaving the empty nest and whatever, but it is what we want, even though we might not be looking forward to it. We want them to be capable young adults. It's what we absolutely want. And yet, a lot of what we do isn't really supporting that. And again, I tell a story in the book about when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, we had a caravan in Arklow. And we spent summers down there. All my cousins and everything, we'd all be down there over the summers. And so many people have similar childhoods, It was your childhood, you were thrown out the door to play, you nearly let yourself up. Out you went. We came home when we were hungry. We came home when it was dark. We ran and we played and whatever. And we fought with each other. We learned when to stand up for ourselves. We learned when to back down. We learned to support the little ones, to mind the little ones. We learned problem-solving skills. We learned self-regulation. We learned all these skills because there was no adult hovering over us like that helicopter. And I think, again, my mum's generation and my granny's generation, they gave their children freedom. But then some of their children were harmed. And my generation, I think my generation is the first generation that became so scared. We became so scared that our children might be harmed, but we did this complete U-turn. And I know, I look back on myself with Erin when she was little, and I think, I was absolutely that parent, play date parents. And we were just so scared to let them out of our sight. And I think that has continued, that we are hovering the whole time and we're micromanaging. And it's not what we want for them. A lot of the skills I'm talking about in the book are, self-esteem, resilience, independence. These are the skills they need for life. They really are. Yeah. And a lot of it is looking at our own parenting and maybe losing that fear. We need to find our brave a little bit. If we want them to be brave, and I talk about this in the anxiety chapter, we have to look at ourselves and find our own brave too. And that will help us to enable them to just grow and fly, what we really want for them at the end of the day.
Yeah. And, throughout the entire book, I found that there's so many, so much good advice that you give to us on how to practically put all of this into practice. You're like you say, it's theory-based, but practicality. And that's what we essentially do need.
Well, that is what I'm aiming for. And I must say, Ger, I have to say thank you so much for your support and your input and your help.
Congratulations to you, Mary, because honestly, what you've achieved here is, I genuinely feel like, is one of the best parenting books. And I have quite a few of them. I have quite a few. Like I say,
but you make me laugh. Do you remember at one point, we were in the middle of the editing process. I don't know where we were getting, we were in the middle of it anyway. And I remember you saying to me, go and get a few parenting books and reading them. And me go, I can't, I'm frightened now. And I was genuine. I had Mally Coyne's book, I had Neve Fitzpatrick's book, and literally being frightened to read them because I can't read anything at the moment. I have to just get this done. But I'm so glad that having read a lot, you think it's useful. I really am.
Oh, it is absolutely useful. I now picture your son sitting at the end of the stairs with one of the stories that you tell us in the book. As I'm doing certain things for my own daughter, and I'm thinking, I need to loosen the reins a little bit here. I need to do, so you are still in my head. Yeah.
Well, funny, I have Michael on next, and I think I'm going to tell that story, and I think a lot of parents might relate to that one. I think I'm not alone.
Definitely, I agree. I absolutely agree. No, honestly, Mary, congratulations for everything that you have achieved with the book. I think it's an absolute perfect, description of you as someone who comes in through our radio waves and our TV screens to help us manage our parenting lives.
Oh,
really
sure. Thank you very much. Before you run, I have a little something for you, actually, if you don't mind.
Oh, gosh.
Sure. There is just...
Thank you, Mary.
Just a small token to say thank you so much for everything, all your help and your support and your expertise. And I do want to say, if anybody is thinking of writing a book, you need this woman in your life. I've learned so much from you.
God, I've learned so much from you. Honestly, I've learned so much from you.
It's been, I think, funny connection. We connected. We just did. And it's been a pleasure to work with you. So thank you so much.
Congratulations again, Mary, honestly. And well done. And, honestly, this is going to be on everybody's bedside locker. And I do hope that it just soars out there. Recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Welcome back again, and now we have my son Michael, and I'm going to have a few words with him about what it's like having me as a mum, I think.
Yeah, the horror of having you as a mum. I think most of your audience would probably know me best from that photo of me sitting behind this door as a kid wearing my little school uniform about to go into school, so...
Yeah, Michael, that probably an awful lot of my students know your face from that first day at school photograph. That was my PhD, all about the transition school, and you were the photograph of the PhD. But I tell a story in the book about my failings as a parent, but about you. And I remember when you were little, so you would have been going into your junior infants class. So you were in junior infants. So Erin would have been a bit older, and there you were. And then I had Kira on my hip as a baby. And oh my gosh, I can actually picture you, Michael. I was always stressed, and I always seemed to be running. You went to one school and Erin went to a different school, so I had to get between the two schools and things in the mornings, but I was always rushing and running. And I always tell the story about my talks. So I'm running around, and I would always say to Erin, Pet, will you do this? Pet, will you do that? So Erin would run and be my helper and do all these jobs for me, and run around the place for me. You would come down the stairs like a little prince in the mornings. Fair play, you would have your uniform on you, but you would come down happy as the day is long, and I'll show the photograph at the end of the credits of you. Down you would come, and you'd sit on maybe the second from bottom step, and you had these little black Velcro shoes, gorgeous little uniform you had actually, little Velcro shoes, and you'd sit with them perched beside you, and you would wait for me, running around like an idiot. And I would come, and I would get the shoe, and I'd get a foot, and I'd open the Velcro, put in, open the put in. And if it was raining, you'd have your little jacket on you, and pick you up and zip you up. And one day I thought, what are you doing? What was I doing? And the messages I was giving you were awful. First of all, boy child, king of the house, because Erin being a girl and Kira being a girl and me all running. But also, and I tell this in the book, it really made me realize you were so capable.
Right.
You were so independent, really. But because I was rushed and I was under time pressure and I was feeling stressed, I did things for you that you were so capable of doing for yourself. And I literally remember one day just thinking, what are you doing? He is so capable, he's so strong, and you would go into school and you could do whatever. And I tell it in one of the chapters about independence as a reminder that I think we all do it. I think so many of us as parents, we do these things for our children, and instead we should be what we call scaffolding them. In education and psychology, we talk about scaffolding children's learning.
Right.
So as a parent, we see ourselves as the scaffolding around the building while the building is progressing. So you're kind of helping the child, you're kind of giving them tips, but you're pushing them outside their comfort zone. So that's one of your appearances in the book, Michael.
Well, is it the only one?
No, I'm sure you're in it more than that. But that's one of the big ones.
Yeah. So what else taught you about parenting, do you think?
But funny, Michael, one of the things when you were little in particular, that really influenced me as a parent was your time in the language unit. And I think for me as a mum, when you have this child and you love this child so much and you want everything for this child, and suddenly the child, you're thinking there's something, they're not meeting the milestones they should be meeting. And I was aware of your languages not being where it was, but you were incredibly sociable. So we're always playing with other kids. And if we went somewhere, you'd mix with other kids, you'd be doing chasing and you'd be doing a lot of kind of physical stuff with them, but your language wasn't where it should be. And probably I spent a lot of time having to fight to get you a place in a language unit.
Right.
Oh my God. Do you know something? I wish when I was back then, I wish I could have had just even 5 minutes of a window into you now. And I look at you in college, doing your own thing, happy as Larry, or your music and everything you have in your life. But as a parent back then, it made me question everything, and it made me feel that I wasn't doing a good job, and it made me feel that I should be doing better and whatever. But it changed my attitude towards parents, because I think it made me realize that how insecure parents can feel.
Right.
And it made me empathize with other parents who struggle. And even now, when obviously you're in a great place, but if a parent is talking to me about their child, I know that feeling, and I remember that feeling, and I can go back to what that feeling was like. And I think that's been a huge influence on me as a parent. Each of your children, Michael, and I hope you're lucky enough to have children at some point in your future, they each influence you in different ways.
Yeah.
You learn, as a parent, you learn so much from each of your children. You really do.
And you can never really expect something like that either. Like, not that it's the biggest deal, but my speech problem kind of thing. You can never expect something like that. So
No.
it is probably a big shock when it comes around. Like,
Michael, it is. And I would say to any parent, because a lot of parents get in touch because they're worried about their child. They get in touch with me in some way. And it's the fear. It's the fear it puts into you when you're worried about your child. And I suppose a lot of that is realizing that early intervention makes a huge difference, life-changing difference, but that we can do so much for our children. And I suppose in terms of the book, that's maybe one of the things. The book is all about social and emotional development. Obviously, it's not about language specifically, but it is about what we can do to support our children to be the absolute best that they can be.
yeah. So I guess thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to my sister, Jer, and probably she got a thank you and all that as well. Now I'm just going to read out a couple names of 3 people that couldn't be here today to promote the book. So first we have 3 videos. One is from Alison Curtis. The second is from Karen Coster. And the third one is from Dr. Mally Coyne.
Hi, it's Alison Curtis from Today FM, and I am in Today FM studios right now. But I'm not tall enough to to show you me and the sign. It's so frustrating with COVID restrictions that we can't be together for Mary's launch of her book. It is... I can't tell you how reassuring it was to read that book and reread it. And I cannot tell you what an honor it was to be asked to do the foreword for the book. I just want to wish Mary, who's one of the kindest people I've ever met, the best of luck with this. This book will become a manual. It will become essential for parents around Ireland, around the world. And it is just perfection, like herself. So I'm sorry we can't be there for a book launch. Best of luck, Mary.
Mary, I just want to say, firstly, congrats on completing your book through a pandemic. Having read it, I absolutely adore it. And, you know, before I even worked on Ireland AM, you were my favourite contributor to watch at home because you always gave such sage, wise advice and you just cut out all the bluster. And that's exactly what you deliver in this book. I wish you huge success with it and do enjoy your virtual book event.
Hi there, my name is Dr. Mally Coyne. I'm a clinical psychologist, lecturer and author. Mary, I am so delighted to send you a little congratulatory video for your amazing book, Perfectly Imperfect Parenting. I absolutely adore it. I've read it. I think it's going to help so many parents out there. You are an absolute inspiration. The way you've managed to cover babyhood to teenagehood and all the issues that you've also covered in your book it's incredible. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I love the way you've added so many practical examples in it. It's so easy to read, yet every chapter packs such a punch. I just think it's incredible, Mary, and I know that it's going to do really well and you're really going to help so many people as you already are with your inspirational work, Mary. So thank you so much for letting me write an endorsement paragraph for you. Thank you for honoring me with being able to send you a congratulatory message. And I just wish you the best of love and light. And I think this message is so important. This connection, not perfection. I'm all about attachment theory, as I've told you before, and all about the idea of a good enough parent. And you and I are completely on the same wavelength when it comes to it. And well done as well to your editor, Geraldine, who's done an amazing job. Bye-bye and best of luck. Bye, Mary.
Thank you very much, guys. Welcome back to the end of the launch here. And I just want to finish with a few different thank yous. First of all, thank you so much to Alison Curtis from Today FM for not only writing the foreword, but for her lovely little video clip from this evening. Thank you to Karen Coster from Ireland AM. Same thing, she wrote a lovely review and for her video. And thank you to Molly. Alison is just the loveliest person. From the first day I went into the Today FM studio with her, I remember she gave me a big hug, and that's just Alison. She is just such a kind, lovely person. Karen, when she arrived into Ireland AM, her warmth and her empathy, and again I just felt a connection with her. And Molly is just a kindred spirit. I think from the first day we met, it was nearly, oh, that's exactly how I feel too, particularly in our views about children. So 3 lovely ladies, and thank you to each one of them. Who else do I want to thank? I wanted to just say a word about Anton Savage and Emer Shannon, his producer, who back in 2015 had me working on their parenting slot and showed faith in me to have me on. Nerve-wracking to go on the radio, and Anton is such an intelligent man, and yet he just turns into like this naughty 12-year-old boy within a second of having made this profound comment. Each time I would go into the studio, you would be greeted with this big smile, and he just made you feel welcome and relaxed, and I really, really appreciated the platform. I definitely did. And I wanted to just say I also appreciated every parent who had enough faith in me to send in their questions and to send in their messages. Ireland AM, I already mentioned Orla Nolan, just such a lovely, kind lady. If 18-year-old me had been told that I would do a regular parenting slot on Ireland AM, I would never have believed it. And I was going into the worse than being on the radio, and I was so nervous when I started. But Orla just had this absolute faith in me, and it was sort of infectious because she believed, I sort of believed. So I want to again say thank you to Orla Nolan and to everyone on Ireland AM. And again, I really do appreciate the platform and the trust in me. I feel it is a real responsibility when parents trust you with their questions about their children, because I know what that feels like to be worried about a child. And again, I just wanted to say thank you there. Thank you to my own three. You met Erin and Michael. Kira decided she didn't want to be videoed, which is great, but she is busy packing away books already, books into jiffy bags and things for me. Thank you to the three of them. I don't think our children know how much we learn from them. And the three of them have taught me very different lessons in life, and I am a better person for having all three of them in my world. So thank you to them. But I wanted to finish by saying thank you to everybody watching. One of the chapters of my book is about parenting in the online world, and I think it's one of the biggest challenges we face. And yet, in the book, I do say, but remember, there's also some really good stuff in the online world. And guys, you are my good stuff. You really are. Instagram and Twitter, but actually it's Facebook. My little Facebook community. Thank you to every one of you who follow me and support me on Facebook. I get the loveliest messages from you, and a lot of messages, it takes me a long time to reply, but I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate them. And even your comments on my posts. And it's funny, I connect with students, so ex-students, I see their names coming up on Facebook, and I'm interacting with them the whole time, and it's lovely. But so many of you are strangers to me, and yet you're not. You are my Facebook friends. And I see people's names, I won't name people, but it's the same names I see coming up on my posts. And maybe I post something I found really funny, and I see somebody's name come up, and before I read their comment, I think to myself, oh, she's really going to get this. She finds everything I find funny too, and I know you do. Or I put up a post on anxiety, and I see another name, and I think, oh, I know this is going to resonate with her because her little girl is really struggling at the moment, and I get it, and she gets it. I see your names, and I feel I know you. I know I haven't met you, but you really are my Facebook family, and I just had to say that and to say thank you so much for your support on that. So, the book. I am so looking forward to people getting to read it, finally. Please let me know what you think about it. Only if it's good. If you hate it, don't tell me. Say nothing. Say nothing. But I am really dying for you to get it into your hands, and I just hope you like it so much. For anybody in Ireland, north or south, I would ask you to go to my website. So that's www.drmaryo'kane.ie to purchase from there. And that is at the moment mostly because of Brexit, because it's taking weeks delays for up to 6 weeks for some books to get from the UK to Ireland. So I'd ask you please to go to the website and to buy it there. I know a lot of you have been pre-ordering already. That's why Kira's in there. I have a little sweatshop going on in my dining room where she's making up all the parcels. And I must just say thank you so much to Richard from Mutually, who developed the website for me and has been a pleasure. If you need a website, he's just the loveliest man. He's not very good at the old IT here. He's been very patient with me. If you are in the UK or internationally, Amazon is probably your best bet to buy the book. You can look it up on Amazon, and I will put up links and everything on social media to buy it. But I just want to say I'm so looking forward to you reading it, and I'm so looking forward to hearing what you think about it. So please do get in touch. I just want to finish with one last little comment, and it's about my mum. and it comes back to connection. It's like on my Facebook page, and I feel I've connected with so many of you. People like Alison, Karen, Mally, Jer, who was here earlier. In writing the book, I've connected with so many, but I've connected with so many of you in so many ways. And my absolute belief in connection comes from my mum. My dad died when I was 9, and I'm the eldest of 3 girls, myself, Jenna, and Aideen. And so we're always a tight-knit little foursome, and my mum absolutely instilled in us the value of connection. So I just want to give a bit of credit to my mum as well, because definitely it's where it's come from. But I think I'll leave it on that note, guys. I'm going to write another book. I'm already thinking about starting over the summer. I have ideas. So hopefully I will someday have a real book launch, and you are all invited. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as I said, do keep in touch and let me know what you think of the book. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Good night. Bye.